on Thursday, May the 9th, 2019, at 6 p.m. at the School Board Education Center. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Rivers.
Here.
Supervisor Schoolcraft.
Here.
Supervisor Atkins.
Here.
Supervisor Castle.
Here.
Supervisor Bates.
Here.
Supervisor Lunsford.
Here.
Vice Chair Robbins.
Here.
Chairman Kilgore.
Here. And the next thing we do is we'll have prayers, and Mike Winters is with us today from Wise Baptist Church. We appreciate you coming.
Happy to be here.
May we all stand?
Let us pray. Lord, it's a wonderful thing to be in a land where we have the right to vote. We have the ability to govern ourselves. We have a voice in our government. Lord, we thank you for our supervisors and just the heart to serve that they have. Lord, I pray for cooperation, that the good people of Wise County will cooperate and work together with the supervisors. Pray for wisdom, just looking at the agenda and just the agenda for the year, just trying to find revenue to supply the school board what is needed and all the different projects. It's just an overwhelming task. And Lord, we pray for wisdom, that you'd help us to see what we need to see. We pray for courage to do the right thing. We pray for compassion, concern for those who are less fortunate. Thank you for this place and this time and these people. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mike Winters.
The first thing we have is the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the April 11th, 2019 minutes?
Madam Chairman, if there are no corrections or deletions, I move that we approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say...
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I have a question. The motion concerning the tax increase, motion was made, and I'm on page 4, a motion was made by Robbie Robbins, second by Bob Atkins, to accept the 7-cent increase only if 2 cents is set aside strictly for county building projects.
No, for schools.
That
Pay the debt, and that's to expire when the debt is paid off.
I thought that's not what I heard last week, that if this is incorrect, then this needs to be changed. I thought you said social services last week.
No. No, the 2 cents was to go to pay for the debt
On schools.
on schools. When that is paid for, then it will not, that will expire, and the tax rate will drop back 2 cents.
That's not what these minutes reflect, so I
Okay.
think it should be changed. If that's
Okay.
your...
That was my intention of my motion at the time. It can reflect it as such.
Can we table this to our recess meeting and have them to go back and listen to the motion?
I have already asked, and I think our staff has gone back and reviewed it, and I believe the way it's stated here is the way they heard it, but my understanding was there was a lot of discussion that led up to this.
Right.
There was even a tied vote which failed, which brought this motion to the floor. And I thought in all that discussion that you emphasized where you wanted that 2 cents specifically to be spent.
Right.
And I think it was a whole big discussion that led to this motion. And I just want to make sure that the motion is correct.
I would like for it to be correct in that understanding as it is. That was my meaning at the time, was that we would have a 2 cent tax, 2 cents of the tax increase would go toward the impending debts that we have coming up for the school system. And then I said that would only be for that, which implies in the motion that at the end of that it will expire and 2 cents comes back to the county citizens.
Madam Chair, I understood it that way, I think, in my second.
I know, but I don't have the motion. We need to make sure, and I did not know that there was a difference there. So let's, could we wait and handle this at the recess meeting, put this item off, and approving the minutes until the recess
Sure.
meeting?
If that's what you desire, I'll make a substitute motion that we delay approving these minutes until we set our next recess meeting for this board.
Do I have a second on that? Okay. And do we need to, does Bob need to remove his motion for the approval?
We can vote on that one first.
But
You'll vote on the substitute motion first.
I know that we need to remove.
Yeah,
we don't need to remove.
okay.
Okay.
Substitute and then,
Yeah,
or may not have.
or Bob could have amended his motion. Okay. Then, any discussion, further discussion? That we do not approve the minutes until the recess meeting, basically. Because there's a difference in what maybe was said and what Robbie's intent was, and we need to go back and look at it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
It's been put off to the recess meeting. The next item is the approval of the agenda, the additions in red.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The next is road and highways. Anyone on roads and highways?
Madam Chairman, I just have a comment that in the past I've requested some road work down near our East Gulf Convenience Center, and that's been repaired, and also solved some choke holes in front of Union High School have been repaired. So appreciate what VDOT's doing in District 3.
Anybody else? Road and highways? Any other board members? Okay.
Someone asked me if the road going up the hill and into the shopping center at Walmart is under the care of VDOT. Is that not Norton's, or is that belong to the shopping center people and not VDOT? Can anyone answer that? We don't have anyone from VDOT.
I can look into that for you and let you know, but I don't know.
Well, their concern was the damage that's been done to people's cars in that monstrous cavern up there that continues to get bigger and nobody cares about it. It's whether it belongs to Wise County or City of Norton or the shopping center people, I want to state that something needs to be done for the people.
Are you talking about the shopping center where that big hole is at the
Where that big hole is,
I would say that would be the shopping center, yeah, that's not a big road. I'd like to talk about the main road. Now, that
well,
would be
the question came to me that way, does that belong? And I said, I think it belongs to the shopping center, but I will ask it in that form, so it's terrible.
I know that's why the shopping center.
Thank you for the delay in the rambling on, Madam Chair.
Okay, then, the next item is setting, we're having a public hearing tonight, and on the proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance number 2-1991, the solar energy system, page 8 of our package. Anyone here speaking on the zoning ordinance number 2, the solar energy system? Anyone here to speak on the zoning ordinance? Not seeing anyone, I'll close that public hearing. The next is a public hearing on the condition rezoning of a property located at 9730 Coburn Mountain Road for a tanning salon business. It's page 9 of our board package. Anyone here to speak on this rezoning a property located at 9730 Coburn Mountain Road, come forward at this time. Come up to the speaker, to the mic, and give us your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is David Fannin. The address that's in question is 9730 Coburn Mountain Road. Did you want my home address or just that one?
Your home address, please.
10966 Pine Camp Road, Coburn, Virginia 24230.
Okay.
Okay. What I did was bought that property in August of last year in thinking that it was a bit part of a business that Thacker Truck Parts used to own. He had part of that building remodeled into a 2-bedroom apartment, which I planned to live in. And then in the garage side, I was going to install 4 tanning beds and operate a tanning salon. The zoning board that I went to had some sort of a disagreement about the traffic situation in that particular area. And that's what I think predominated most of the discussion at the zoning meeting that I went to. I contacted VDOT and talked to them, Mr. Joy Mullins and Jeff Sands. And at length, Joy Mullins told me that given the situation and the way the property is located and everything involved, that it looked to him like he would probably approve or go along with a low to moderate volume of traffic pulling in and out of the area to get onto the road. He also, and I asked him this question, about how many traffic accidents has occurred in that area over a period of time. He pulled it up on his computer and said that in 13 years that they've got information on for that there's been basically 4 accidents. One was due to it was a fatal crash due to ice on the road in that area. In the general vicinity, it didn't give a specific point that he and I talked about. And that was in 2014. 2016, there was a rear-end collision, and I think someone was hurt in that one, but I don't know the results of that. And then in 2018, and then again in 2019, there were 2 animal accidents. 2 deer, I guess, were hit by a couple of cars. So there have been 4 accidents in 13 years. I mentioned to him about possible road signs to slow traffic, a caution light, or indicating that there should be a sign for blind entrance, a hidden entrance, or a warning sign of some nature. He said the only way he could do that is for the zoning board to approve to have a small business there. So I told him I would get back with him on this and talk to him about it a little bit later. The business that we're talking about is probably going to have maybe 12 to 20 people a day, because you just don't have constant traffic going in and out of there. Since I've owned the building since August of last year, I've always been able to pull in and out of there forward, not backing out onto the road, and has never had an incident or a problem with traffic. I look both ways very carefully, and there's only one way where if you're facing the road, the right-hand side goes up to Tacoma Mountain Road, and it's an uphill, clear vision. The left side is a little bit of a curve, and it's going downhill towards social services. So that's the only actual problem of that particular area, or causing a situation where you got people that are going through there and they need to slow down. I even mentioned that, lowering the speed limit, because it's not just for me, it's for the other residents that live right there in that area. There seems to be some concern about the traffic situation, so something should be done about that. And right now, I think that's about all I want to say. If you have any questions, I'll answer them.
Any questions for him on that? Okay, I think that we understand.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would suggest to Mr. Fannin, if you have a recommendation or a statement from VDOT personnel, that you get that in writing.
I can. I told him I would contact him next week or the week after, and we would sit down and talk about it more in detail, and I would get something in writing that I can present to whomever.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak on the rezoning? Anyone else? Will you give me your name and address, please?
My name is Oscar Braille. I live at 5604 Buchanan Road, Wise, Virginia. And I live behind, Buchanan is just right parallel to that structure road that we're talking about. And I personally have had a friend that was involved in a fatal accident that was mentioned there. I've had another friend leaving my house get hit coming down that road. And as Mr. Brandon pointed out, there is a traffic issue there, but there's not been a business actively working out of that location for the 26 years I've been there that I know of. And 26 years I've been at college, 25 of which I've lived in that location. And there was mentioned in the planning commission that there's other businesses, there's government activities there, but they all have proper entrances and exits on there, and they have line of sight for safety. So I think that if you look at the makeup of that area, it's residential. There's not the business activity there around that area. So we would be putting a business into a residential area that's been pretty much the same for the last 25 years that I've lived there. So I would ask that you rule against that along with the Planning Commission's recommendation. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Ramona Cole. I live at 11403 Craig Road, Coburn, Virginia, 24230. I also live at this apartment half the time when I'm not working at another job. But I just want to point out that I don't think there's any difference between whether or not I have someone coming there to tan or someone coming there to visit. If you rezone it, there are other businesses around there. You have the health wagon, the sheriff's office, social services within just hundreds of feet right there. Right up the road, you have a new place that is selling cars. There are other businesses there. I'm not just somebody wanting to come there and just open up a business in a little neighborhood that was no businesses. The whole purpose of this was because Gary Packer had a business there for years. So I was under the understanding that we could purchase this, I could get it rezoned, and we would open a business. My intent was to never harm anybody or to have accidents out there. If traffic is their problem, the first thing I did after the planning board was call VDOT. I talked to these people and they said it does need to be done. There do need to be signs put up, flashing signs, the speed limit should be changed. But I just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to say that. It does need to be done, but there are other businesses in that area. It's not just residential. Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Anna Marie Santana. I live at 5609 Monroe Road in Wise. 293. And there are other businesses in that area, but the road conditions are not the same at those points. So it is true that the social service is a little ways down the road, but the road there is straight. It's not a curve where their location is. And the gentleman who owns the business, I don't know the relationship, but nobody lives there. I live across the street from that place. The gentleman mentioned the road conditions. Excuse me, I'm trying to read my notes and I don't have my glasses. Number of close calls versus accidents. I think looking at the safety of the area, he did mention the amount of accidents that have occurred, but I live right there and I know that it is a dangerous spot, so the actual numbers may not be indicative of the actual danger. And making the exception for a business where there is no business because the property owner bought the property not being aware of the zoning is not, I don't think, a good reason to change the zoning to accommodate something that should not be there. The original, sorry again, I'm trying to read my phone. And that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name's Eric Rumberger. I live at 9733 Coburn Mountain Road, directly across the road from the place in question. And it is a very unsafe area. I've had 2 people die in my front yard. I've had about 4 others in my front yard wrecked, so I don't know where his numbers come from. My wife has been hit pulling in my driveway. 4 of my direct neighbors have been hit that I know of pulling in out. So it is a dangerous area just for the people that live there. Then you want to put traffic in on top of that. They opened for business for about 2 weeks under, I don't know what kind of pretenses they were, but I saw in those 2-week period roughly about 10 times people backing out the road in front of a school bus and 3 other cars, tires squealing, backing over the hill, trying to back in the road, missing the driveway completely. Just, it's in my phone, I believe it was on the 30th at 8:30 at night. He says he has no issues, but he just about got hit. I can tell you exactly the time. It was on the 30th at 8:30 at night. He pulled directly in front of a white Dodge pickup truck, tires squealing, horns blowing. It's just a dangerous place. My wife reiterated at the other zoning, we could not even let our kids get on or off the school bus in front of our house for the danger factor. And now you have, some of these other businesses they want to talk about, they do have a line of sight. And now social services has moved up to the old Sykes, which is going to put way more traffic, even more on that road. Sykes hires about 600 people. That's even more traffic. It's just a dangerous place. And on top of that, it has not been a business, as Oscar pointed out. I've been there almost 22 years. It's never been a business. It was originally zoned residential. Gary Thacker owned it as a non-conforming business, but that was about 30 years ago. He shut the doors. All he did was reline brakes there. That's all he did. And I've been there 20-some years. If there would have been a business when I looked at the house, I'd have never bought it. I just don't want, I'm not going to make no qualms about it. I don't want a business across the road from my house in my neighborhood. And I don't know if you all have it, but we signed a petition, everybody in the neighborhood, and that's where I stand on it. I appreciate your time.
I'll be brief. My name is Bill Steen. I live at 9748 Coburn Mountain Road, just the next driveway above the proposed business. And as I told the Planning Commission, the increase in traffic on Coburn Mountain Road has really created more danger there. I said that's a good thing. That means the business and technology park is growing, but there is a tremendous amount of traffic on that road. I know Mr. Fannin said he talked to VDOT. I haven't talked to VDOT. I know Joey, but I know the site distance. I've worked on site entrances before for commercial businesses. With a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, the site distance, it is on an up, depending on whether you're coming from Wise out to Coleman Mountain, you're on an upgrade, which helps with stopping distance with the car going upgrade, but still the site distance, stopping site distance is somewhere around 340 feet. That's more than the football field. If you go through that pit there at Bear Creek, just beyond the old social services, you cannot see that entrance, a football field length. So I just wanted to speak from the aspect of safety. I'm not against small business. I'm certainly for that, but I just don't think this is the location, and particularly being conditional, or I don't know if it's called spot zoning, but putting a commercial in a residential area, I don't think is very good practice. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? I'll let you come back one time, but I needed to let anybody else speak before you can come back. No one else, then you can come back for just a second.
When we purchased the building, and I went to the zoning board downtown and talked to the zoning office and talked to them, and they gave us permission to have a home business, which allowed us to operate for a short period of time. Right after the neighbors started complaining or whatever they were doing, Mr. Romberger being the instigator of it, I believe, because I was told that he went out to the zoning board and had some discussions with them about what we were doing. About a week later, I received a letter that said we were no longer allowed to operate as a business. And why? They couldn't really give me a reason other than the fact that they changed their mind. So I just wanted to mention that. There's never been anyone backed out onto that road. Never. The only person that backed up toward the road had a problem with her brakes, and she ran in the ditch off the road in the parking lot. I used my truck to pull her out, and I checked her brakes out. So it was an incident for her, not specifically for anyone on the road itself. She never crossed the white line. Her car never got up to the road. It landed the back wheels on the ditch side. The other thing is, if there's that much problem in that area with traffic, then VDOT needs to be involved, and they should do something, because you just heard a lot of people complaining. And if they do what they're supposed to do, VDOT, to get involved, or the Wise County, then they're going to probably help save lives and keep people from getting killed or hurt. You know, I said, you know, after listening from a lot of these people before at the zoning meeting, they've almost made me scared to want to live there. They make the way they sound, and you know, I want to die. So something needs to be done. I agree. So let's get something done. But as far as the zoning for my small business, there's a lot of businesses in that area. If you go 300 yards away. As far as stopping distance, I talked to the VDOT about that, measured it myself. And it's about 375 feet from my entrance to my driveway to the point where they said you couldn't see a car pulling out of the parking lot. You couldn't see a car coming. Well, as soon as the front end of your car, as soon as your car reaches the white line on the road, you can see that car coming. It's because if you park behind that, then you've got a little bit of a blind spot. There's a tree there. Now, that tree I don't think belongs to me, but it can be cut down. So I think that's about all I want to say. Appreciate it, and thank you.
Anyone else? I will close public hearing on the rezoning property located at 9730 Coleman Mountain Road then. It's closed. Okay, the the next is our presentations, and the first one is Mountain Empire Community College, Dr. Chris Westover.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good evening. I am going to give you a kind of brief update on the college functions and activities. I'm going to start with hopefully the only kind of depressing news, and that was our final semester fall head count number. Our fall, we've been somewhat decreasing in full-time enrollment for a few years now. We've been on a steady, not super steady, but a decline in our full-time enrollment for the fall. Hopefully was the bottom of that decline. This spring we are up 1%, and we were down about 8% total at the end of the fall, which was a little bit worrisome for us. I can talk to a little bit about why some of that is down, and part of that being down in full-time enrollment is a shift in the Virginia Community College system in terms of early workforce credentials and non-credit training. And so the college has been very active in ensuring that students and potential students have the opportunity for short-term workforce credential training at our college, and we're actually leading the entire system in terms of workforce credential training. The 3-year goal for the Virginia Community College system was to triple the number of credentials that our colleges offer by the year 2021. And Mountain Empire Community College has met that challenge every year that we've been in progress since that goal was created. And we are actually leading the total for complete 2021 credentials right now, even ahead of Northern Virginia and some pretty large schools. So we're very pleased with that number, and we're excited that we're putting credentials that help students be employable immediately into their hands and help them earn higher paying wages and get better jobs. So our spring enrollment, as I mentioned, is up about 1%, and that's our full-time normal regular enrollment, including dual enrollment. Our summer pre-enrollment numbers are up right now around 7% from where they were at this point in time last year, and our fall enrollment numbers are up from where they were at this point in time last year by about 4%. So that's all very promising information in terms of just our metrics. Wise County continues to be the leader in terms of head count for both full-time regular enrollment and dual enrollment students. Tomorrow evening is graduation at Mountain Empire Community College at 6 p.m. under the tent on campus, and we have two student speakers. One is actually Kara Mullins, and she's graduating summa cum laude from high school. Well, she's graduating summa cum laude from Mountain Empire Community College with an Associate of Arts and Sciences degree in science. Kara is the daughter of Greg and Lisa Mullins, is a dual enrollment student at Union High School, and she's a member of the Lady Bears, and she will also be graduating from high school in a few short weeks. So she will actually complete her college degree, her associate's degree, before her high school degree, which is quite a win for Kara. And she plans to continue her education this fall at the University of Virginia at Wise. The college also has our SACS, COC. I'll explain what that means. That's the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges. Our 10-year reaccreditation is due in October of this year. So we will have a team of accreditation visitors that will visit our campus for 3 days. They will also probably be visiting our dual enrollment high school sites. We're confident that the process will yield a positive outcome for the college, and that we will retain and continue with our accreditation for another 10 years. And that accreditation is what allows our credits to transfer to other community colleges, but more importantly, it's what makes us eligible for federal funding and for Title IV funding, so that students can utilize Pell Grants and other federal forms of funding to go to school at Mountain Empire Community College. If you recall, Governor Northam, when he campaigned on the G3 initiative, which stood for Get Skills, Get a Job, and Give Back. And as part of that initiative, he allocated $5.1 million of federal workforce discretionary funds to the Virginia Community College system for the G3 initiative. And Mountain Empire Community College was quite ahead of the game in many of the areas that they incentivized. We just created a one-stop shop for new students, so that they can come to one place and work on their financial aid, enrollment register, look at career options, and do testing all in one location, and get any type of advising and counseling. And we've also worked to really make sure that our credentials and our programs stack, so that if a student comes in and gets one of those short-term industry recognized credentials, they can come back at any time and build upon that credential for another certificate or a degree. So we've worked very hard to make sure that all of our credentials are stackable. So we went ahead and competed for this funding, and we received about $183,000 to incentivize, to help the college with our customer service and our student onboarding process. So we have contracted with the Baldrige Award-winning PALS Business Excellence Institute team, and they are going to provide professional development to all of our staff in how we can better provide customer service and support our students and help them through the college process. And I'm excited to update you all on our Center for Workforce and Innovation in Appalachia. First, I want to give a big thank you to all of you for allowing us to utilize that facility. It's the former elementary school in Appalachia. And to date, the college has applied for over $2 million in grant funding to stand up some new short-term industry-recognized training programs. We've received a little over $1 million from the Tobacco Commission, from the Go Virginia Region 1, the Slim Foundation, the Workforce and Innovation offices, and the Virginia Community College System. We are planning an open house for that location late summer or early fall, so folks can come see what we are offering. The current offering, we've done a lot of computer labs. We're moving the moving the archives and a lot of our library resources to that site to create an archive for Appalachia. Our lineman program is currently located in that spot. Our commercial driver's license is working out of that location too now, so there are trucks up there and poles going up the hill. Our construction trades short-term program will also be there. We're working on right now upcoming program that's funded but is still under development for dental assisting, and much of that dental assisting program, that's thanks to the generous donation, thanks to Dr. Cantrell and the Lenawisco Health Department for a generous donation of some dental equipment. MECC was also awarded, you may have read, $310,000 for Go Virginia Region 1 grant to establish a smart farming center for the workforce at the Center for Workforce and Innovation of Appalachia. And the smart farming program really focuses on the use of drone technology, which the college has a strong footprint in for agriculture purposes. And that'll allow MECC to expand our unmanned aerial systems program for environmental science programs, and hopefully grow the number of users in unmanned aerial systems in the region. The concept of smart farming actually involves the use of technology to improve farming techniques, increase yields, and maximize profits. And the funds are going to be used to purchase a LiDAR drone, which will also be used to analyze agriculture fields for growing crops and cattle, and discovering, actually, you can even learn what kind of pests are on your cattle and all kinds of stuff from this LiDAR radar. MECC is partnered with the Appalachian Sustainable Agriculture Project, whose mission is to help local farmers thrive and link farmers to markets and supports, and to build healthy communities through connections to local food and local food sourcing. So we are very excited about the smart farming opportunity. Some other things that are planned at the Center for Workforce and Innovation of Appalachia, but that are not yet funded, are an aggregate apprentice program and aggregate mineral mining, child care for both our students and our employees. We recognize that many of our students are non-traditional students and do struggle with child care and transportation needs, and child care is the #1 thing that comes up as a barrier to their completion in our surveys for students. So we're actively working to try and help them with child care options. And then a makerspace for a fabrication laboratory, which would have laser cutters and welding and foam presses and things where people can come and learn how to use some of this technology, either in an entrepreneurial sense or to help improve their business practices. Fabrication labs are really nice for small businesses to sometimes create prototypes within their own community without having to farm out a prototype or an expensive prototype to just test a concept. So we're very excited about the makerspace and trying to connect to the MIT Fabrication Laboratory. And then lastly, we're going to be sending a team of student services and academic representatives to Amarillo, Texas this summer. They have what they call the Creating a Culture of Caring Poverty Summit. And Amarillo Community College is a leader in what's called the No Excuses program to ensure that we recognize the needs of our students in terms of homelessness, in terms of poverty, in terms of transportation needs and child care needs, and work to address those needs so that our students can complete and therefore get into better jobs and earn better wages and have more family sustaining wages and in turn strengthen our entire community and economy. So those are kind of the big things that are going on at the community college. I don't want to spend too much of your time. I also wanted to just mention that we are making some changes in terms of IT. Our website has a new design, so if you haven't been to the MECC website for a while, hopefully it's more easily navigable by students. There are really quick and easy ways to connect to the jobs that lie at the end of many of these programs, and they can see immediately the job openings in our region within a 100-mile radius, and they can see the current offerings in terms of pay, so that as students, as they're thinking about what careers they want to choose, they can have real data and they can make decisions based on facts rather than guesses. So with that, I will hush and entertain and answer any questions that you all might have for me.
Any questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would just personally thank Dr. Westover for coming to Appalachia and using that school. I want to publicly do that now and tell you that we're certainly pleased to have you as our neighbor. And it's also gratifying also to see that very good building, which probably should have never been abandoned, to be put to good use. So thank you very much for what you're doing.
Thank you, Supervisor Lunsford.
Thank you.
We're happy to be in there and hoping to get the word out and grow the programming. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to say that it really is very important, the things that you are teaching and getting the students interested in. It's the future of the county and the region, is to develop the workforce. So we definitely appreciate that. And again, we appreciate that that building is being used to so productive outcome.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing us to use.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
Dr. Westover, I just want to say thank you for your leadership at MECC. Certainly thank you for what you're doing at Appalachia Elementary. I see a strong future there. Thank you very much. Thank you for what you're doing for our community. Appreciate it. Glad you're here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're a good institution. We got a great team. A lot of people. Thank you.
Anyone else on? Okay, thank you.
Thank you much.
Okay, the next thing is the school budget for the fiscal year 2019-20. Greg Mullins and Beth Shute, please.
Madam Chair, I'd also like to add that Dr. Westover has been wonderful in working with our school division, and we have a very strong relationship with them, and our students certainly have benefited greatly from our relationship with Mountain Empire. Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Hatfield, members of the administrative team, I appreciate and welcome the opportunity to speak with you about our school system, and take the opportunity to thank you for partnering with us in providing one of the best educational experiences that a child could have. With your support and with the support of the citizens of Wise County, we have what I believe is the best place in Virginia to receive an education. I also want to share or add that I'm very appreciative of Mr. Hatfield agreeing to meet with me each month. I think that our meetings thus far have been excellent. I think it will be beneficial to both the Board of Supervisors, to our school system, for us to continue that. And Mr. Hatfield, thank you for that. It's been a great working relationship. I also want to share with you, and I think I've done this each year that I've stood before you, I understand the difficult task that you have in trying to meet the needs of our entire county. It's a daunting task, and I can't imagine trying to accomplish many of the things that you have to get accomplished with the resources you have. And so I appreciate your service and what you've done for Wise County. As a school division, we also have an awesome responsibility of providing our students with, again, the very best educational experience we possibly can provide them with. And your role and support has been and will continue to be crucial in making this happen. I have some information to share with you regarding some of our successes, some of the wonderful things that our students have accomplished and our staff, and the impact your support has on our ability to continue to be successful. And I won't spend a great deal of time on these, but it is some information I think will be beneficial to you. And so, if you want, can I do this from here? Okay. I think I've pressed all available buttons. So I'll just let you run through them, that'd be fine. This is some data from the Virginia Department of Education. This is the standing learning test scores. This is all tests combined. As you can see, starting in 13, we've made some gradual increases each year. That ranking on the far right is out of 132 divisions in Virginia. We took a little dip this past year. We're upset and want to get back into that top third. We actually want to be first, but fifth in total scores out of all divisions in Virginia. We're extremely proud of that and grateful for all the hard work that went into that. And we're certainly aware that SOL test scores are not the end all. We know that. But it is an indicator that the state of Virginia has put out there to judge our schools on. And so we have our teachers and our students and their parents have found a way to make this happen, and our performances have been great. Just some of our core content subgroups. If you look at our history scores, in each of those rows, all students, economically disadvantaged students, and special needs students are the three categories in each of those. As you can see, starting in 2012, we've made a great deal of progress through 18. All of our students were third in history. Our economically disadvantaged were second. Our special needs children were seventh. In math, overall, our entire student body, we were second in the state in mathematics, third. Economically disadvantaged students were third in Virginia. Our special needs were also third. Science in 2018, overall, our students were sixth in the state. Our economically disadvantaged were fourth, and our special needs were 10th. We're very proud of these students and their accomplishments. By graduation rates, certainly we aspire to have 100% graduation rates. These are some of the highest you will find in Virginia. Some are in the 70s, but we continue to work to get to 100% in all three of our high schools. We're very proud of these rates as well. Just some of the things academically, athletically, artistically, state championships this past year. As I've already pointed out, we were fifth in the state in overall scores. VHSL, Virginia High School League State Championships, during this past year, Eastside were state champions in theater for the 5th consecutive year. Forensics, I also believe maybe 4 consecutive years, or perhaps even 5. Central Forensics, theater, girls basketball, union golf, individual forensics, and individual girls swimming. And our Eastside boys were runner-up state champions this past year. Just to share with you some of the increasing needs of our students, right now our free and reduced lunch rate is at 78.4%. We have a higher poverty rate than 83% of the other school divisions in the state. 1 in 6 of our children have been identified as special needs. And of course, the Department of Ed has raised the bar and increased the pass rate required for special needs subgroups. And And with these increasing numbers in these subgroups, it requires us to allocate more resources to support these children. I'm sure you're aware, but just this past year, truancy and chronic absences is one of the indicators that we must meet in order to be accredited as a school and as a division. And certainly, I'm sure most of you are aware, we've done a lot of things to increase and promote attendance throughout the county. We, of course, truancy and chronic absenteeism has always been very important to us, but it's now possible for a school to perform at the very highest levels academically and still not be accredited because of attendance. And so we're working very hard to meet those standards. Students with disabilities, as you can see, starting in 2012, we were about 13.2%. This past year, we're at almost 16%. As I said, 1 in 6 of our students are identified as special needs. Children in poverty, this is a little bit harder for you to see. There's a break there in the middle because they changed the way in which they measured poverty there, I think in 2004. That's the break you see. But Wise County children in poverty in the green. The state of Virginia is in the black, I think, and then the blue is nationwide. So we do have challenges there, and that's not a surprise to anyone, I'm sure. Our success, despite these challenges, it's hard for you to see, but up in the upper right-hand corner, you see Wise County. The axis on the left is the total, is the SOL percentile rank, and the bottom line is the poverty percentile rank. And as you can see, even though we have one of the highest poverty rates that in Virginia, we are the highest performing school division in Region 7 and the 5th highest in the state. So we're very proud of our students for this. Per pupil funding in poverty, as you can see down in the lower right-hand corner, that is our school division in the city of Morton. What you normally find is when poverty rates of the system goes up, the funding generally goes up to meet the needs of the impoverished children. And there is not very many people around us, many school divisions down in the bottom right. And so we continue to look for ways to make sure we serve these children. Funding per pupil, just across the state, these are some of the differences you'll see. This is from the Department of Ed spreadsheet. In Surrey County, each child is allotted or allocated $20,799. In Wise County, we have per pupil spending of $9,832. We're 131st in Virginia per pupil funding, and of course Surrey's first, and Lee, Buchanan, Bigson, as you can see their rankings there on the far right. Local, state, and federal dollars, these are just differences since 2013. Overall, local, state, and federal, we're down a little over $4 million from 2013. Local operation funding down a little over $2 million. The per pupil budget, as you can see, it's changed. We're up about $500 above the level that we received per pupil in 2011. At that time, we were 99th, and we're 131st, have been for the last 3 years in per pupil funding. And again, just local operations, the allocations over the last from 2013. If you just simply account for level funding, only if adjusted for enrollment, we're down about $800,000 from 2013. In fiscal operations, our school division was 131st in per pupil funding, as I mentioned, 125th in beginning teacher salaries, 112th in 30 years experience teacher salaries, and 41st in pupil teacher ratios. So we have taken the dollars we have available to us and tried to continue to keep our pupil teacher ratios lower if it's possible. We know that learning takes place when you have pupil teacher ratios that allow a teacher to adequately work with students. So we tried to keep those low. but I think we probably, in teacher salaries, we probably spent our money there as opposed to our salaries. But we have, I think, through being efficient, has allowed us to mitigate some of the challenges associated with these low funding levels. Our guiding principles when we put our budget together in each of our board meetings, we always point to these and discuss these. We want to have the safest learning environments that we can provide. And certainly just the news in the last couple of days, another tragic incident in Colorado. We've worked extremely hard in our maintenance department, and with your help, we've done some things in each of our buildings that I feel that we're much safer today than we were even a year ago, 2 years ago. And we've also, one of the principles that's guided us is the learning environments that are conducive to high levels of student achievement. We've tried to, in forms of technology and whether it be HVAC, any number of things, but we've tried to have schools that are comfortable, great places for students to learn. And certainly, recruiting and retaining the best employees that we can hire is certainly one of our principles, and that's getting more difficult to do. Critical shortage areas, this is just a report that the Department of Ed put out. In 2018, over 1,200 paid teacher jobs in Virginia set unfilled. The 10 highest need areas, special education, which for us, with our population increasing as our student enrollment decreases, certainly finding good special needs educators is a priority for us, and that's the #1 hard to fill position in Virginia. Elementary ed, middle school ed, career tech, math, counselors, English, science, foreign language, health, and PE are the 10 in Virginia. Some of the efforts we've utilized to recruit and retain great employees. Last year, for the first time in several years, we adjusted our teacher salary scale. It had been frozen so many times, it was essentially a meaningless scale. You could be a 5th-year teacher and a 12-year teacher and be making the same thing, and so it had got to a place where it was not a scale by any means. And we made some adjustments to that, and we hope to maintain this step increase this year for teachers on the scale. We want to address the pay scales of some additional folks that are extremely important to our division. Maintenance department, custodial, transportation, aides, our clerical help, cafeteria staff are those that we hope to try to adjust, at least in small part this year. I'm not going to read all of these, but I just want to show or point out some of the things that we've done with your help to improve our schools. In each of these, you will find safety upgrades made in the entrance areas and the vestibules that it's not possible now to move beyond the office unless you're buzzed in and you have a conversation with somebody in the office area. Our high schools, the new high schools, had these areas, but we did go back and add an additional safety factor to them. But our other schools, we've completed those in the last couple of years. But as you can see, paving, roofs, HVAC. Again, I'm not going to read all those, but I did want to just point out some of the things we've done. PA systems, roofs, the doors, security locks in the vestibule, main entrance door replacement. Installed security locks, as I said, at Union High School. Track resurfaced down at Union. Out at St. Paul Elementary in the Career Center, you can see we've done some paving at the Career Center. We've also added their safety vestibule. I've done some other things that helped in some of their training areas. PA system, fire alarm system, roof over at St. Paul. Again, Wise Primary, LF Addington. You'll see some of the same things in multiple places. Build the ramp in the cafeteria over at LF Addington and remove the old gym bleachers and replace them. 8th grade lockers, security fence around the walking track and playground. AEC and RLA, we constructed a new wall between two of the hallways so we could house two programs in the same building, and made repairs to their bell and PA system. Union Primary replaced the steps from the main parking lot, a section front sidewalk, PA upgrade, playground equipment. Union Middle School, we removed and replaced the lockers, bleachers, interior doors and walls, VAB boxes in the HVAC system, a new roof, and replaced the main entrance door. At all of our schools, and I'm sure those of you that have children and grandchildren that attend, in all of the entrances and many of the windows and doors, we've added a protected window film that makes it extremely difficult to see inside from outside the building. That's been done at all of our schools at a certain level. We've talked with the principals, went down and met with them in those areas that we felt there was the biggest need. That's where we placed that. And since 2016, we've been able to replace 17 buses. And so one of the things that we heard when we were in the process of building new buildings is that we had allowed some of our buildings to fall into somewhat of a state of disrepair. And I do want to brag on our maintenance department and their efforts. I feel as if many of the things that we've done with your help will allow us to have buildings that we see them being usable for well into the future. And some of the things that we've done have Band-Aids placed on and short-term fixes, and we feel that these things will actually allow them to be usable for a long time. Just some of the upcoming things. These are just some things that in meeting with the maintenance director, talking about them. Some paving projects, continue to remove the last remaining asbestos that we have. HVAC repairs on some of our rooftop units. We have to do that at 4 of our schools. Fire alarm systems, PA systems, bus replacements, clock systems, door replacements. And as I shared with you last year, it is our hope that by working with the county and trying to change and retool and make some adjustments, especially at our career center, that cybersecurity we've got in place there now, some of the computer code writing that we're doing, information management systems, computer programming, aerospace engineering. This fall we'll start some paid apprenticeships with some of our students at community businesses. And certainly we want to be able to provide a skilled workforce for our county. And we're working extremely hard to do that. As a matter of fact, on the 18th, the Career Center will be having an open house and a job fair just across the road. I think right now there's going to be at least 200 jobs available. And we've got a lot of businesses, a lot of companies that are going to be there with booths and equipment. And so we're very excited about that. And we hope that that is a very successful event. We are come to you tonight asking that you fund us at our current level. We want to continue to work with you. I want to continue to work with Mr. Hatfield to reduce our budget next year. We want to continue to recruit and retain high-quality employees. As you well know, there is a real crisis in education right now. If you talk to our local college, they'll tell you that the levels of students entering the field of education is sharply declined in the last 5 years. We want to continue our efforts to be part of diversifying our economy, and we want to continue to foster a spirit of cooperation with the board. And again, I just want to thank you for your continued support. There is much to be proud of in our county. Our students are doing some wonderful things, our teachers, and we thank you for your role in allowing us to do these things and accomplish these things. I'll have Ms. Shoup, if she would, to come forward and present our budget, and then if you have questions, we'll both be glad to answer any that you might have. Ms. Shoup.
Good evening. We'll start out just going through the section 2, the detailed budget, if that's okay with everybody. We'll start on page 1 of 5 with our revenues. We built the budget this year on a potential enrollment of 5,350 students. We have over the past 10 to 12 years seen a decline of about 100 students a year. So statistically, we feel like that's a very accurate number to build our budget on. So our state revenue starts on page 1 and continues on to page 2. You will see the major increases in our state revenue are in the at-risk category, the supplemental lottery per pupil increase of almost $350,000, and then the compensation supplement that Governor Northam passed of a $1.15 million increase for the 19-20 budget. So we will have an overall state revenue increase of $1.4 million. On page 3 is our federal revenue. We have an increase in school food. That is mainly due to now being a participant in the CEP program, where almost all, and hopefully one day all of our schools have completely free lunch provided. That has provided an increase in revenue there. And we also have a slight increase in some of our title programs. For our local appropriations, also on page 3, we have requested level appropriation, and we have a sales tax estimate increase of $156,000. Our other fund revenues on page 4, we have a decrease in school food there. That is local dollars that the community was spending on school lunches that is no longer being taken in. That's being backfilled with the federal increase I showed you earlier. And we have a bit of a decrease in some of our health services and Medicaid billing. Page 5 is the summary of our operations revenue. We have a revenue budget of $60.4 million, which is an increase over this current year of $1.35 million. Does anybody have any questions about revenue? Pretty straightforward, that one. And then we'll go on to expenditures, and of course I won't read you every line item of this, but I will tell you that in our different categories, the increases are all, almost all, the significant increases are personnel. We have adjusted not only the teacher scale from last year, but our board and salary committees voted to increase some of the scales that have been frozen for several years. So the increases that you'll see in the columns are due to changes in that. We will have an overall raise this year of approximately 2%. With the 3% average, 4% average from last year, that will allow us to receive the governor's funding for the 5% increase that he approved over the biennium for all school employees. Page 2, the operations expenditures is in the instruction category. The major increase there is in fringe benefits. We had a very small increase this year in our health insurance, and our board voted to absorb that increase. So in the fringe category, that's what you'll see there all through the entire expenditure document. On page 3, the increases there are personnel. Page 4, attendance and health, personnel increases there. Page 5, our transportation budget. We actually have been able to consolidate some routes again, and a decrease in students. So we're going to be able to operate with increases to bus drivers and transportation salary with little to no increase there. Page 6 is where you'll see the majority of increases that are, I guess, the largest increase that is not personnel related in our repairs and supplies in the 6,000 category. We have an increase there to give our maintenance staff a little more to work with in improving the safety and security of our buildings and upkeep. Page 7 is our school food budget. With the CEP program, there's an overall expenditure decrease there. That program is self-sufficient and operates very, very well. Page 8, we had a decrease in our unallocated insurance, our workers' compensation rates, and our liability insurance with Bayport. Our estimate has gone down, so we're going to have some savings with some of our liability insurance there. So we were able to decrease the budget there a little bit. Page 9, our technology budget, personnel increases, and some slight increases to our network services and materials and supplies is a small increase. Page 10 is the summary of all the categories with an overall expenditure increase of $1.35 million. I know that was a super fast run through of the detail, but basically all of our increases this year are in personnel range.
I'm sorry.
In personnel, with the raises and for the fringe benefits or our insurance increase.
Does anyone have questions for him? I don't believe they have any questions.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Okay, the next presentation is Appalachian Fire and Rescue.
Members of the board, Madam Chair, coming tonight to do a presentation real quick. It's not going to take long in regards to some concern that was being brought forward. I received an email from Mr. Representative there, Mr. Lunsford, in regards to some proposals and some things we're looking at with the fire stations and emergency services here in Wines County. And you can see there's some major concern about it because there's several of us back here in the back that has some concern with this as well. When we want to address this, and the only thing I'm doing with this presentation tonight, in this discussion and possible proposal in the future, is some of the risks that it will bring to the taxpayers of Wise County. And not only risk with money and increase of insurance, but also when you're dealing with people's lives. All right, see if we can get this going here. All right, go ahead to the next slide, please. Okay, if you currently look up on the map, this is Wise County currently with your fire stations in red and your EMS stations in green. You don't see anything in Coburn because Coburn is covered by Life Care, and you don't see EMS in St. Paul because it's covered by Castlewood. All right, next slide, please. Okay, you're going to go, okay. Wise County Fire Departments, let's start with that. We have 405 square miles in all in Wise County. We have 6 town fire departments. You go ahead and just bring them all up, that's fine. One county fire department, you have one city fire department. In the town fire departments, you have Appalachia, Big Stone Gap, Coburn, Pound, St. Paul, and Wise. As far as your county, you have Valley Fire Department and then the city of Norton itself. On average, if you take a look at it, these departments between the 8 run about close to 1,200 calls a year. Now, it doesn't mean that's 1,200 fire calls. That's anything from service calls to car wrecks and so on. Sometimes it's EMS backup to help with lifting assistance and so on. So on average, you're looking close to 1,200 calls per year. Okay? Next slide, please. You can bring them all up. On your EMS agencies, they cover 340 square miles. And the reason being is because you've got to look at life care. It's covering the areas of Coburn. And of course, you've got Castlewood Rescue. It's covering the St. Paul area. So you have 4 town EMS agencies. You have Appalachia, Big Stone, Pound, and Wise itself. One county is Valley. Then you have the city of Norton. Now, if you take a look there, the average call volume is around 5,300 calls a year. Now, that does not include the town of Coburn, which they run quite a few calls, I think it's close to 1,500, maybe more calls a year, somewhere in that ballpark. And then, of course, we don't know what's running in St. Paul because Castlewood, we don't have their numbers. But you can see that's a large, significant amount of calls per year. Okay? All right, next slide. On this proposal that's been discussed and it's been concerned to us, and I've contacted the fire and EMS agencies back here, was talking about putting 4 stations countywide. There's been maybe some discussion about possibly closing firehouses, EMS stations, or if not, the town fire departments will keep their departments in their town. So I'm going to bring up tonight how this could be a very bad impact, not only on lives, but how it's going to impact everybody's dollar here tonight. The speaker was here tonight from MECC. I'm going to speak how this is going to impact them. It's going to impact on anything you bring in business-wise to Wise County. Okay, go ahead next. This is what we're looking at right now on your 4 fire and EMS stations as discussed for Wise County. Now, this has been brought up a couple times, but if you take a look at it, that's what we're looking at to cover 405 square miles. 405 square miles, 4 stations. Okay. All right, next slide. Go ahead and bring them all up. If you take a look there, there was discussion about putting a fire station between the towns of Appalachia and Big Stone Gap. There was one talked about possibly in Esserville, Indian Creek, and up in Carfax area between Coburn and St. Paul. Okay, next slide. You can bring them all up, please. In discussion with this, I'm going to bring out some of the cons. And if you take a look there, your increased response times. Right now, every fire station and EMS station in Wise County have been in play for many, many years. Some of them almost now 100 years. You're going to increase your response times if this county board even proposes looking at going 4 stations. Response times, that's going to be 1 fire truck and 1 ambulance. That means they will be covering, like for instance, the example between Appalachia and Big Stone will be covering all of East Stone Gap, all Big Stone Gap, all of Appalachia. That's over 100 square miles for 1 fire truck and 1 ambulance. You're going to have an increased workload. You're going to endanger lives and property. Now, let's get to the cost of this. We talked about expense. Expensive. 1 station will cost $600,000 to $1 million per year to staff. Now, times that by adding 3 more stations. Again, we have to build stations and hire staff to run at least 70 full-time personnel, at least up to $8 million for the 4 stations alone. So the county's going to have to fork out $8 million. Taxpayers here, everybody in this room, $8 million to build 4 stations. Okay? The county will have to purchase fire and EMS apparatus, all the equipment needed, and apparatus and equipment costs is $5 million up to $8 million. Now, I've seen some of these departments that's here tonight in which the towns, a lot of the towns have purchased the equipment, or we've gotten them on grants, and the most recent engine that was purchased here in Wise County was down in Big Stone Gap. You can ask them how much it cost. They're not cheap. So 1 engine, you're looking, just an engine by itself is almost $600,000, if not more. That's without the equipment. Okay? Now, let's talk about the ISO for homeowners and business will increase or be canceled, costing the taxpayer. ISO, I'm going to give everybody a quick education here if they're not aware of what ISO is. The Insurance Services Office. That's how everybody's homeowners insurance and then business insurance, how it's rated for your fire protection. My insurance is through Southwest Insurance Agency, and I called, I made a phone call this week and spoke to them. In Appalachia, we have an ISO Class 4, and I'll get to that just in a second, but this was a letter from them because they were kind of like in a panic mode. And it says from Southwest Insurance, to whom it may concern, most insurance companies base their rates eligibility guidelines on ISO fire department ratings. ISO assigns a rating of 1 to 9 for fire departments based on factors including, but not limited to, staffing, the number of fire trucks, the equipment, and response times. If a property is located within 5 miles of the responding department, the insurance company uses the ISO rating of 1 to 9. However, if the property is located over 5 miles, the ISO rating is an automatic 10, the highest rating available. Insurance companies may charge a higher rate, that's what I'm talking about. Charge a higher rate or your ISO for an ISO 10, and some companies may even decline to insure due to the risk of a high ISO rating. So a good example is we have a sawmill there in Appalachia. There's industry here in Wise. I see this, Mr. Kennedy puts it on Facebook all the time, the new technology that's coming to Wise County, their ISO is going to be a 10. Who's going to pay for it? Who is going to pay when my insurance is now in a class ISO 4 goes to a 10? My $600 a year is probably going to go to $2,000 a year with this proposed 4-station plan. Okay? So that's one of the questions, is who is going to pay for it? The MECC going in up at Appalachia Elementary School will automatically go to a 10. So you see where I'm going with this, how it's going to impact any type of economical growth in Wise County. All right, next slide, please. So we discussed here, you can bring them all up. Appalachia has an ISO rating of 4 in 95% of their coverage area. Our neighbor in town, Big Stone, is right close to us. And if any consolidation occurs, all co-camps and industrial business will immediately go to a Class 10. Same goes for Big Stone. A lot of their area is going to go to a Class 10 as well. All of East Stone Gap from the Valley area will go from a Class 5 to a Class 10. Every business and home within 5 miles outside a fire station will have a Class 10 and can most likely have a severe impact. Okay? No companies will locate here. I will tell you that. I worked in Roanoke County Fire Department for almost 12 years. Or Donnelly, it makes a lot of the school books we're used to, or still does make them. When I was in Roanoke, they purchased $1 million fire truck for one station just to improve their ISO rating. I spoke to Mr. Lunsford about that earlier. So it goes to show you how ISO has an impact on any type of economical growth for your area. Okay, next slide, please. Now, if you take a look here, that's a big blue pie. But you see a little tiny slice in there. If you look at the county's budget of $50 million that we're proposing, okay, Wise County Fire and EMS only gets $445,550 per year to operate. That does not include any state monies that come through, no 4 for life or anything. That's just what this board approves. That's $28,000 a year for the fire departments and EMS agencies to survive. Norton gets a little, I think the fire department gets about the same, but EMS gets a little less. Folks, we can't survive on that. There is no possible way. There is just no way. So your fire and EMS services make less than 1% of this county's entire budget. Okay, next slide. Now, on your 4-station proposal that was, being spoke about, the Wise County budget will jump to $67 million in the first year. It will take $17 million. This is low volume, folks. This is not the top dollar here. This is the lowest it's going to get. It's going to cost this county $17 million and $400,000 just to get up and running. Fire and emergency services will make up 26% of the county's entire budget. The yearly apparatus and equipment costs alone, after you get this started, will go up to close to $6 million. Okay, next slide. You can bring them all up. Now, let's talk about comparison. Let's talk about City of Kingsport. That's right across the state line from us. They're pretty close to us in population. Their fire department only covers 50 square miles. They have 8 stations right now just covering 50 square miles. They have 24/7 paid staffing. They have 3 platoons it's on. That's an A, B, and C shift, totaling over 126 personnel and administrative staff. They're getting ready to construct a 9th fire station in the plans. Total yearly operating cost is a little over almost $9 million, the closest in population to Wise County. So you can see, based off the population, what it's going to cost to have a fully funded fire and EMS. And take for granted, the city of Kingsport does not have EMS. Sullivan County handles that. So add additional cost to that. Next slide. And it's hard to see, but you can see this is their budget for fiscal year 18-19 for the city of Kingsport. Right now it's $8,875,000 total, just about it, just to operate for personnel. And you can see their salaries, the lower parts of their salaries all the way to their fire chief. And their salaries are comparable to here in Wise County. So that's basically what we're looking at if you put in, if we staffed every station here in Wise County. Okay, now next slide. You can bring them all up. Now let's talk about if we did the closest fire department and EMS agency to us based upon consolidation, if we did a 4-station consolidation. Bristol, Tennessee has 5 fire stations. They have a population of 26,000 people. They cover 26.5 square miles. They have 24/7 paid full-time staffing, 3 platoons with a total of 75 full-time personnel. Their operating budget is a little over $5 million. If you do a 4-station proposal here in Wise County, you cannot get by with any less than 70 personnel. You cannot just put EMS providers in a fire station. Everybody has to be cross-trained because of OSHA requirements. The 2 in and 2 out rule. Every one of us know exactly what that means. So you just cannot staff a fire truck with 3 people and then put 2 EMS people. Everybody has to be cross-trained to do everything. So you can see there's a lot of cost with this. Next slide, please. So it's hard to see, but this is the city of Bristol's fiscal year budget. And, you know, that's a lot of cost. A lot of cost. It's over $5 million just to keep it. Next slide. So my question is, and I think a lot of people here tonight, probably up here during public expression, will have the same thing. What is the pros of consolidation on your fire and EMS agencies? There is none. There is none whatsoever. The volunteers in this county, along with some of the paid staffing, save this county millions in cost. Millions. Millions in cost of personnel and in apparatus. They save everybody sitting behind me a lot of money. So there's no pros to it whatsoever. All right, next slide. All right, this is my final summary here. Each fire and EMS station in Wise County located in the ideal location. Constructing 4 consolidated fire and EMS stations will not solve the county's problems. Having only 1 fire truck at each station will also impact the town's ISO rating. Having not enough equipment, manpower, and response times from second due stations. This plan will cost lives, property, and money. The fix is easy. Leave the agencies in place. If an agency requests funding for paid staffing or whatever to help supplement the loss of volunteers, then let's find a way to do it. Because I'm telling you right now, these individuals sitting behind me tonight that's representing these firemen, fire and EMS agencies, I've seen them for the past 20 years. You don't see anybody walking through this door that's 18, 19, 20 years old. We're getting older just like everybody else. So we're going to have some help financially, somehow. They're not beating our doors down wanting to volunteer. Okay? So, you know, supplement the loss of volunteers. Let's find a way to do it and help find a way to increase operational funding. A lot of the towns here do a lot of funding. They pay for the equipment, but they're not getting any help. $28,000 that we have received for the past 10, 15 years is just not cutting it anymore. And final note, and this is something to think about. I want everybody in here to think about this for a second. Think about where you live right now. You think about that. A fire is reported. I'm going to use the country club in Big Stone as a fine example, way out there in the valley. Let's say the clubhouse catches fire. That 1 engine and 1 ambulance is supposed to be staffed between Appalachia and Big Stone somewhere. Responds. Now, that leaves 2 towns wide open. That leaves the town of Big Stone Gap, the town of Appalachia wide open, plus all the county area. Who responds? If there's another fire, motor vehicle accident, or something like that, let's say like in the Stone Egg area of Appalachia, who responds? Is that second engine going to come from Esserville, here in Norton Wise area, all the way to Appalachia? Or is that ambulance? So as you can see in my final thought here, this is deadly. Not only is it expensive, this is deadly. You're risking everybody that's sitting in this room's lives. We're already strapped for money, and we all know that. The schools are strapped for money. EMS and fire are strapped for money. But we cannot get an additional tax put on us to cover this. We can't do it. We can't afford it at all. Right now, I live in the town of Appalachia. It costs me more between the town taxes and the county taxes combined together than it does to live in Fairfax County. 7 cents more I'm paying for my town and county combined than the residents of Fairfax County. Thank you. Any questions?
Madam Chair, if I may, we've had several, or I have had several discussions with numerous fire and EMS folks in the last few weeks, and this proposal or option that was put on the table some time ago about the 4 stations, we understand this presentation here tonight might be somewhat, in someone's eyes, premature because it hasn't really been officially been brought to this board.
Well, let's clarify. This board has never had a discussion.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, let's clarify. I mean, it's not, okay? The board doesn't have a plan today.
We don't. That's the reason I said, some might say it's premature. But the fact that it's even being looked at, I think the point is well made that the option never, ever needs to be looked at. We have to go in another direction. And that was the point of the presentation.
Exactly, and that's my point getting across. You know, there's been discussion about, we've had a few meetings, and I guess pretty much what we're asking for, this thought process needs to end. It needs to be squashed. It's not going to work. So,
thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else has questions?
Madam Chair, has the other fire rescue been, were they involved in your presentation today? Has that been discussed with them?
yes, they're here. You see them, they're all sitting back here. Yeah, so you got representation pretty much from everywhere here tonight.
I see the representation. I see them here. I just wondered, they was aware of all of the cons on this thing.
Well, we had a meeting a couple months back and discussed, you know, some of the funding issues and stuff, and that proposal was brought out, you know, and talked about. And we thought it was an issue that was coming to an end, you know, but again, it was brought up again, and, you know, of course, that's very concerning. You know, not me just being in fire and EMS, but as a resident of Wise County and a town resident of Appalachia, you know. And I think, you know, these people here are concerned about it as well. So I just, you know, I've been in this service for a long period of time as I have professionally, and there are several career firefighters in here, including myself, that work for other localities. They'll tell you it's very expensive. We just don't have the money to do it. So we need help in other ways other than that.
Now, we'll have public expression now.
Thank you.
Anyone for public expression? You need to come to the mic and give your name and address.
My name is Dr. Sharon Hatfield. I'm an educational specialist. I just retired last week from Jefferson College of Health Sciences, where I have been over all the healthcare programs besides nursing and physical therapy. That includes the fire, EMS, paramedic, respiratory therapy, physician assistants, et cetera, et cetera.
I need an address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. 414 Kilbourne Avenue, Appalachia, Virginia. When we decided to retire, we visited the community college. I also have my thesis for my doctoral degree was workforce development in Appalachia region, which I fell in love with. So we came to town and we just looked at what is available for our services, especially being in the healthcare field. I looked at the hospitals, the cancer center. I looked at our fire and EMS. I looked at the geography of, you know, our area, it's mountainous, and the access and response time that we would have for the fire department and EMS. Also, the trauma center in Johnson City, which is probably going to move. Oh, I'm sorry, Kingsport, which is going to move to Johnson City. So that's going to increase our time to transport for ambulances. Personally, we've had an instance where our guys were out fighting a fire in Appalachia. My husband got severely ill. We have a huge home that has a big staircase, and one of the other group of EMS came, and first thing they said, "Where is he?" And I said, "He's upstairs." Well, they were unable to physically, due to their ages, transport my husband down. They had to call for backup. And when backup came, it was a woman and a man, and she couldn't lift my husband, who only weighs 190 pounds, to get him down the stairs. It took 45 minutes with the help of neighbors, and I live in the town of Appalachia, to get my husband in an ambulance. You know, so far I have seen, you know, especially with the probably closing some of our hospitals, his access is going to decrease. And I can tell you just from me helping certify EMS and fire and paramedic people around the state, we have a shortage that desperately needs to be taken care of. And reducing any of our fire stations, the numbers or the budgets or anything is going to be a risk to, you know, our area. Also, you know, I think, you know, we came here to retire. And so if we're going to expect good services, again, my taxes on my house are as high as they were in Roanoke, Virginia, Tomahawk County and town. That's ridiculous. So anyway, I would suggest that hopefully you consider raising the budget for our fire stations, and please do not close any of them. You know, we have Swiftwater Rescue, we have mountain climbing, we have tourists here, we've got Highway 23. Just driving into this meeting, there was a crash on the main street in Wise. Fire engine, ambulance, and 3 police cars. I could tell the lady wasn't hurt, the driver, but what happens if somebody has a heart attack in town? Who's going to take care of them? So again, I think it's our job as the government to protect our people for the public health and safety of our population. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paul Clark. I live at 146 Azalea Lane, Bixton, Virginia. I am the Wise County Association president and for teaching educators. Yes, you people are back. I'm here to request that you support the school board and their approval and approve for a proposal for level funding or higher salary increase to fund our future, if at all possible. Without the level funding approval, Wise County will drop to the 4th from the bottom in the state of Virginia. Yet we're at the top 5, as you saw from Dr. Mullins' presentation, for test scores. Can you tell me who's doing their job? The teachers in Wise County. Once we were noted for being the lighthouse of Southwest Virginia in salaries and test scores, the teachers and staff members continue to overcome low pay and produce productive students with knowledge to amaze the rest of the state, not only in academics, as you saw from Dr. Mullins' presentation, but in forensics, band, cheerleading, and even in sports. It seems that teachers are giving more than 100%. In addition to teaching and attending school events and other activities and working possibly 2 or 3 jobs, you'll see that there are not a lot of teachers behind me, because I got messages and emails throughout my talking to them in the last couple of weeks that they are working or at other functions. Other counties around us, where I'm the WCEA president, I go to VEA conventions, and I talk through we're District A, from District A to District Q, are having issues with salaries too, just like we are. Well, in District A, I've talked to Russell County, Lee, Scott, Buchanan, Tazewell. Most of those counties this coming year are getting a raise. We need you to level fund the school board to help with our paraprofessionals, our secretaries, our bus drivers, our custodians, to continue that quality that we have in Wise County. Help fund the pay scales. Other districts are working to find the money. How is it possible that they can and we can't? Are the schools in Wise County a part of your vision of the future of our county? Studies show, as like the lady who just spoke, that people move into an area because of school performance, not school buildings. They move to an area because of academic quality offered. Quality teachers, which you have in Wise County, and quality staff are a huge draw, not the buildings. So please don't mention the past and say, we wanted buildings. Buildings are just something you have to have. That was, the cost should have been considered then, that when you have to pay for buildings, you're going to have to also pay for your staff to be in the buildings. If you want quality, you have to pay for it. You can either go to Walmart or you can go Dollar Tree. There's already a teacher shortage in the state of Virginia, as Dr. Mons brought up before me too. Fewer people are going into the education profession because of lack of money. If you want to retain, do you want to retain quality or continue to lose people in the education field? I don't know how in tune you are with what happens in Wise County, but right now we do have a teacher shortage. We also have a substitute shortage. There are days where we can't even get a person to take a job. Well, some of that money that you would give to the school board would help fund substitute pay. Because we have children who are here without a substitute because no one will accept a job because they say the pay is too low. They can go to McDonald's and make more. What incentive can our county offer teachers when other counties are getting raises? The consequences of a budget cut or no funding tonight means a race to the bottom for our county financially and educationally. I consider myself a seasoned professional, so here it goes. Soon the seasoned professionals will all retire. Sure, you're going to get some new people for a couple of years, and then they're going to hit the road too. As soon as they realize that teachers and students are just a test score and not respected. Educators don't do the work that they do to become rich. We all knew that when we went into teaching. It was a calling. It wasn't because we were going to be the next Rockefellers. And we do it because we believe in children and are trying to make a difference in their lives. But the pay is not commensurate with the dedication and expertise that we bring to our profession. How can the educators in Wise County be expected to continue to meet standards of quality when their standards of living are compromised and not met? Isn't it ironic that I'm here standing tonight asking you for money and it's Teacher Appreciation Week? It's time to think. Without the funding, we're on a race to the bottom in the state of Virginia. Behind you is a logo and it has a lighthouse on it. At one point, we were the lighthouse district. I think we still are, but apparently our lighthouse is going to become an abandoned house. I want to ask you once again to fund the school board. What message are you sending out to our students in our communities and the people in our communities when you don't pay your teachers? We are teaching the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public expression? And please, let's limit our comments to about 3 minutes because we have a large crowd.
Amber
Everyone
Riley,
speak.
Amber Riley, 228 King Street, Appalachia. So we moved to Northern Virginia, up near Fairfax, after being lifelong residents of Wise County, due to the destruction of our healthcare system in this area and the merger that was forthcoming. My daughter, who was an AB student, went from here in Wise County, where she received awesome education, to a DS student within 1 semester. I was gone for a total of 6 months. 1 semester, ABs to DS. Huge difference because the teachers in that area were not invested like our teachers at Union are. When I moved back here, I purchased a home because I was in it for the long haul. We are, we decided we're going to have to be here until our kids turn 18 because this is where they're getting quality education from our teachers in our community. I'm paying more taxes now in our county and in my town than I was when I lived there. And I took a 2.5 times, yes, 2.5 times pay cut from what I was making there to what I am making here. I am making literally 2.5 times less, which is huge. I'm actually going to have to resign my job in Wise County with Ballot Health because they won't pay us, because they are destroying our healthcare system further, to go travel nurse away from my family to bring them quality money to be able to support us in this county where our taxes are so high. And now we're faced with even more challenges as the idea that someone brought up to consolidate our fire and EMS stations. So now not only am I going to pay more in taxes, I'll be paying more on my homeowner's insurance if it doesn't get canceled. But here's the fact. We are rural Southwest Virginia, and we are a rural community, and we are already disadvantaged. But that does not mean that we have to suffer and be treated like a third world country, because we are not. We are not stupid. We raise quality children who go out into this world who are successful and well-educated, who want to bring their talents back to this community, and they want to serve our community. But how can they do that if our community leaders are not invested in their future by giving our fire and EMS and being able to give our people access to quality health care, to quality fire and EMS services with quick response times where lives are not at risk and not on the line, but also where they want to invest in businesses and help our community grow. I would love to say that I would love to be here lifelong. I've been a lifelong resident of Wise County, but I can promise you, if the forthcoming changes with our healthcare system and our fire EMS come to fruition, my family and I will not be staying in Wise County, and I, as a future nurse practitioner, will not be bringing my services to Wise County to serve you guys. And I would hope that some of these teachers that provide these quality educations check out too, so that they can get paid what they deserve as well. Thank you.
Anyone else for public expression? Give me your name and address, please.
Mary Moses, 103 West 2nd Street, Big Stone Gap, Virginia. It's hard to follow such eloquent speakers, but I think I can try to sum all this together in maybe a little bit fewer words. I'm also a healthcare nurse for over 40-some years. So I agree with everything that's been said, and I didn't come prepared again tonight like I did last month. But today, the Tennessee Department of Health announced regarding the COPA, and unfortunately they did it in a way through media without even the Ballot Healthcare openly discussing with the employees, and especially the NICU, which their discussion was involved today, that they did agree to allow the NICU to be moved to the Johnson City area. As well as we've already understood, the trauma services have been downgraded now to a level 2 for Holston Valley. Our ambulance services, our education services here will have to endure increases because of all of the results discussing the ballot health. So, you know, retention of what we have now is basically in your hands, and that's a heavy load. But we have increase in needs, the cost, and the availability of health care. Ballard says that they will not close down any facilities or services for 5 years. But that doesn't mean that they can't change the services being provided, such as Lonesome Pine Hospital, where there's already discussion about changing it into a different type facility, which would leave the Big Stone Gap area without urgent care or any type of urgent medical care or inpatient care. And we are already looking at Lee County, our neighbors that have no hospital, no inpatient behavioral health, no cancer center. Ballard Health's already closed the cancer center in Allendale area in Kingsport. What's to say that they're not going to close the one in Wise County? We have to be proactive. I'm asking you to be proactive for the citizens of Wise County. We cannot sit back and protest, as we're seeing now the few that are doing that in Holston Valley. We can't wait until it's too late. Okay, we've already let the changes occur, but that doesn't mean that we have to continue to suffer and have less care, less availability. Our education level pointed out, we have over 70% of our children in Wise County that are in the poverty area. Those parents cannot endure travel, stay, food, taking their members of their family or loved ones to Johnson City. What's going to happen? I barely was able to drive leaving in the town of Big Stone Gap, which we understand is not a safe decision on my part, of driving 1.5 miles to Lonesome Pine Hospital while having a heart attack. What's going to happen? Just like they mentioned before, in the middle of a dead winter, when you can't get transportation to Norton. What's going to happen to the residents of Big Stone and Appalachia? Where are we going to go for help? There are times that even EMS cannot transport or can't provide services. So we need to be looking ahead. We need to be proactive. I understand that we have 2 board members that are currently on Ballard Health Advisory, some capacity. I don't know what discussions taking place there. I don't know if there's been any discussion that's been brought back to Wise County to the citizens in regards to what's happening. But I do know that you have the availability and, to me, the need to speak up for the residents. You are our advocate. You are our future decision makers in regard to our education, our retention of the people that we have here. God bless this woman who came back to Wise County, who chose us. But what in your hands are we going to do to retain the health care that's going to be available for her, my family, your family? We have to be proactive. We need to be talking. We need to have documentation. We need to have verbalization with the Virginia Department of Health, because we can and we do have the power. Just because we're in a low-income county does not mean that we have to be subservient. We are intelligent. We're providing high-level education in 2 colleges in Wise County, providing medical, nursing training, and other areas of fields of health care. Those people are going to leave, just like she spoke. Wise County is going to soon be involved in people coming in, travel nurses. She's going to have to leave Wise County to do the same thing that Ballard Health now is doing at Wellmont, Holston Valley, and other places. They're paying $35, $50 an hour right now because they reduced the salaries of their current healthcare workers. They're already importing those people to Wise County. That money's not going to stay here. That money's not going to stay in Kingsport. Those people are here for a short time and they're leaving. They're not going to be paying taxes. They're not going to be paying for our school needs. They're not going to be paying for education or medical care. We have to be proactive. So I'm here asking you for your advice, your communication with Virginia Department of Health, with Ballard Healthcare, in the name of Wise County residents. We need you to be proactive and help retain the care that we have, help retain the level of education services that our people should have, because we are providing quality level of care to them at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
name is Sharon Ryan. My address is 2511 4th Avenue East, Big Stone Gap, Virginia. I had no intentions of saying anything tonight. I've been paraprofessional for 18 years at Union Primary. I am one of the many that has to take on a second job just to be able to put food on my table for my kids. And I beg you to please back the school board and give our teachers, paraprofessionals, and everyone that works in the schools a raise. I've been there 18 years, and I have been in that freeze for 9 or 10 years that we went without a raise. Please consider everything's brought before you tonight for everyone that works for the county. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tyler Hughes, 7 East 5th Street, Big Stone Gap. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the county's public education system, its educators, administrators, and all of its staff. We're at a critical moment in our county's history. The future of our community can often feel bleak with reports of increasing outward migration, budgets becoming tighter with every fiscal year. Tonight alone, we've heard about the challenges of higher ed, healthcare, and emergency services here in Wise County. It can all be quite overwhelming, especially as a young person trying to make ends meet in Southwest Virginia. However, tonight, this board has a moment before them to not only provide a moment of funding, but a moment of support and a moment of hope for our residents, and particularly our educators. I agree with Madam Chair Kilgore's statement she made earlier tonight, that investing in the workforce and building the workforce is building the future of Wise County and Southwest Virginia. That is why it is so extremely important that our Board of Supervisors fully invest in the current and future generations of Wise County. I personally have friends who are products of our Wise County public school system, Mountain Empire Community College, and UVA Wise. Upon entering their career in education, they quickly found that pay in Wise County could not sustain their stay here. Today they work in communities across the Commonwealth like Charlottesville, Manassas, and Fairfax. I understand that the economy of Southwest Virginia will likely never allow for direct competition in teacher pay to Northern Virginia. However, tonight you have before you the opportunity to take even a small step toward incentivizing future educators to teach in Wise County. We hear so much about the importance of retention of residents, how important it is that current and future generations feel empowered to stay, work, and raise families in the mountains of Southwest Virginia. I hope this board understands how important that is and how powerful and hopeful a statement like fully funding the Wise County public school system would be to all residents, but especially to the youngest generations who are continuing to face the choice of whether to stay or seek more opportunity outside of the region. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Theresa Kelly. I live at 526 Maxfield Street, Big Stone Gap, Virginia. What I have here tonight, I don't know if it's allowed or not. If it's not, you can just tell me and I'll be glad to say, okay, thank you. As some have already spoke tonight about our problem with ballot health, it seems to me that most everybody around has just shrugged their shoulders, given up already, and quit where ballot health is concerned. But I don't think it's time to throw in the towel yet. Right now we have in the city of Kingsport across from Holston Valley, I don't know if you all are aware of it or not, but we have Danny Cook leading a very peaceful protest of some of the things that Ballot is doing right now. And they're there tomorrow, will make their 9th day right across the street in front of Ballot. They are there 24/7. They're sleeping on the ground at night. They're sleeping through the rain, through the cold, through the heat, whatever. They're there 24/7. Tomorrow making the 9th day. They would really appreciate having, they've asked that Board of Supervisor people from the different counties around would come out and just show a few minutes of support for them. They've had maybe one from Hawkins County, a few from the Kingsport area. I think that's been it. They're still fighting this COPA, and tonight I have a petition if anybody here would like to sign it before I leave, and you can read it if you like, but I'm going to tell you what it basically is. It's a petition in an effort to save the Level 3 NICU Neonatal Intensive Care Unit at Holston Valley and the Level 1 Trauma Center at Holston Valley Medical Center in Kingsport. A lot of people think this is a done deal, that it's already gone to Johnson City. but some of us are still willing to fight that and to try to get it to stay where it is. We realize that in our area in Southwest Virginia that it's Holston Valley is a lot better for us than Johnson City is. I can tell you all that from experience with friends. Now, I do not know what's going on today, but as of 3-4 weeks ago, healthcare was non-existent. I hope you hear that. It was non-existent in our emergency rooms at Lonesome Pine. There were people sitting there for hours on end, on end, on end, and you know what they were told? They were told that there were no beds, so they could not admit them to the hospital. They transferred them to Holston Valley. They sat there, or different places. They sat there for hours and hours on end. They were told at Holston Valley that there were no beds. These were lies. These were bald-faced lies by Ballot Health. You know, say what you want to about them, but they were bald-faced lies. A doctor finally came around to 2 friends of mine that were transferred to Holston Valley. They spent their whole night in the ER, Big Stone Gap, Holston Valley. The doctor happened to come out, not to see them, he was just there for whatever. They asked him, they said, why is there no beds at Holston Valley? He said, oh, don't believe that lie for 1 minute. He said, we have thousands of beds. He said, we have no staff. We have no nurses. We cannot admit you because we have no one to care for you. Come to find out, it was the exact same thing at Lonesome Pine. There were hundreds of beds. There was no staff. I had a friend who has a daughter who is physically, mentally handicapped. She's up in her 40s. She's like a baby. And he had to take her there in an emergency situation, and it was so bad that he ended up taking her home and working with a local doctor to get her IVs and her care at home. I'm sure some of you would know him, Charles Upchurch. He had to take his daughter April home and get doctors to work with him to get her care at home because he could not get it at Lonesome Pine Hospital. I hope that it is better now than it was then. I cannot speak for now. But this is a petition to try to keep them from moving our Trauma 1 Center and our NICU baby unit from Kingsport to Johnson City. We know that Kingsport is much more localized. It's a much better, they already have the facilities. They've got the helicopter pads. Their facilities are much better than what they've got in Johnson City. Some people are laughing and saying, you know, this is stupid for them to be out there protesting, a very peaceful, as I said, protest, because they've given up on the situation and what Ballot Health will do. But you know, it not only involves Ballot Health, it involves our representatives. The statement was made that the state of Virginia, us here in the Southwest Virginia area, had a whole lot better chance of our voice being heard than Tennessee did, because that we have much more to lose than Tennessee does. But the statement was plainly put, if somebody with the balls would rise up and do it. I hate to use that, but that's exactly the way it was put. But nobody's rising up, nobody's fighting, everybody's sitting back saying, well, it's a done deal. And you know, our health care is going down the tubes. You ask some of the people that's been there in emergency in the last month, they got no service whatsoever, none. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Walter Prowse, 6855 Hurricane Road. 11.3% tax increase is absolutely unnecessary. People on fixed incomes and the unemployed and poorly employed cannot afford this large increase. This increase is very bad for property owners, particularly in Pound and Appalachia. My wife owns 2 properties in Pound. 2 postage stamp-sized building sites in Pound are assessed at over $150,000 per acre, and the second at $83,000 per acre. Economically, Pound is an absolute disaster. Its only bank is closing, Subway is closing, Rite Aid drugstore is closing, or they already have closed. I've been to Pound, I've been busy teaching. The small towns, except St. Paul, are economic disasters. Drive down A Street in Appalachia, drive down A Street in Colburn, drive down A Street in Pound, the stores are closed. The closing of the high schools have destroyed these Appalachia and Pound. The whole town spirit was their high schools. Dr. Perry claimed that we would be saving $3.5 million. That was supposed to pay for the new schools. The school system was to pay for the construction of Central and Union high schools. We taxpayers vigorously opposed consolidation of the high schools. It would have cost much less to renovate the high schools. They were built as bomb shelters. They will still be standing when the other new schools fall down. We have no jobs and unemployment is high across all of southwestern Virginia because of Hussein Obama and his corrupt EPA, which destroyed the coal industry. Properties in Pound are worthless. You can't give them away. And probably the same situation exists in Appalachia. I don't know anybody in Appalachia to get property values and do similar calculations, but I'm sure their properties are way over-assessed. Everything is for sale in Pound and Appalachia and most of the county. We have no jobs, and no jobs. We had a governor promise to bring us jobs. Yeah, I see it though. All he knows about murdering babies. I have medical issues and have been teaching chemistry every day at the Wise County Christian School. That's why I haven't been here giving you complaining about the school board budget and your budgets. Invite all of you to graduation tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Wise County, I'm still chair, keep Wise County beautiful. Wise County has lost its purchaser of plastic and paper. The entire region of southwest Virginia and northeast Tennessee have lost the outfit over in Kingsport bought all our recyclables. The board needs to contact DEQ. We need to put some pressure on those idiots from Richmond and get our senators and representatives to put pressure on DEQ to find us someplace to take our recyclables. If we stop taking plastic and paper, people will quit recycling. They're so lazy now they won't put cardboard in the blue boxes. So people, please put the cardboard in the blue boxes instead of throw it in that big trash can. And as chair of Key Wise County Beautiful, I hope I can have the opportunity to travel with you when you get trips to Blacksburg and Sevierville to see how their systems of recycling and trash handling go about to minimize landfill issues. If we don't recycle, the landfill is going to fill up quickly, and then where do we haul our trash? We have limited space. I opposed the presentation earlier about the consolidation of 4 stations. That should be thrown in the garbage can as fast. That's just like consolidating our schools. That was the biggest mistake we ever made. We don't need to consolidate the fire stations and the EMS. And finding a place to cut the budget, I don't know if any of this budget goes to support the people too lazy to work. No money for illegals. Let them starve to death, and anybody who will not work, starve. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm not sure how to follow that.
Name and address.
Name's Billy Chandler, live 5141 Back Valley Road, Big Stone Gap, Virginia. Had no plans of being here tonight until earlier today. Definitely no plans on speaking, but there's a couple things that's brought up here tonight with the teacher salaries, with fire and rescue, that a lot of people don't see, and I see it firsthand both ways. I've been in the fire service like a bunch of these guys back here over 20-some years. And we don't have the young ones knocking the doors down to come in and volunteer. All of you in the positions you're in, we elect you to get you there to make a decisions for this county. And we put that in your hands, and we'll trust that you make the right decisions. As far as the fire and rescue, I think we can all come together and work with a a common goal that will work. But the funding has to come up. It can't come down. And the reason I say that, in the school system, I see it every day and take my daughter to school and see it in the fire service. When they're short of money for stuff in the schools, in their classroom, where they're getting stuff together and it's not funded, you know whose pocket it comes out of? The teacher that's not getting paid enough. I see it all the time. And some of us help out with that. That should never have to happen. Then you look at the fire and rescue side, we have people running bingo that are trying to keep the lights on just so they can help to save somebody's life or their property. That is wrong. When you're short on anything that you have here at the board or in the county, does it come out of any of your all's pockets? No. You don't take money out of your pockets. Why should people wanting to do better in the community with the fire and rescue have to take money out of their own pockets to make ends meet, as well as the schools with these teachers trying to teach our kids and get a better education? Why should they be taking money out of their pocket when their salaries are lowballed across Virginia? And our salaries, our firemen don't even have salaries. But yet they have to come away from their families to volunteer. And then a lot of them have to do bingo just to keep the lights on in a facility that should be paid for. This makes no sense. Not to me. We shouldn't have to work to fund stuff that should be funded. As far as the fire service, we're just asking for stuff to help people. We're not asking outside our means. We're just wanting to help do a job to make sure everybody in this county is safe, as well as the people that come to visit. As far as our teachers, they're wanting to give our kids a good education. They need the money. They should not have to take it out of their own pockets. So as you all with these decisions, you've got some hard decisions to make, but you've got two critical things that are very high community impact that you're going to have to find a solution to somewhere. But that's it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Tricia Flannery, 669 Woodland Drive, Appalachia, Virginia. First of all, I'd like to say that as a citizen of Appalachia, we're very happy with their fire department and their EMS people, and we want to keep it as it is. If it ain't broke, you don't fix it. You help it. You just don't throw it in the trash. Second of all, I heard a comment made that there's 2 of the Board of Supervisors that are serving on the ballot board or something. Can I ask who they are?
I have no idea. I don't think.
John, who's the second one?
I serve on a board, but it is not valid. I serve on a TAP committee that was appointed by the Virginia, the Commissioner of Health in Richmond.
Are you on a ballot board?
I think that's what they're referring to though, is because of the state board that oversights for our state.
Okay, I just wondered, because I thought it's, if you was with ballot, it's kind of like sleeping with the enemy, but anyway, that's very
Anyone else for public expression? Everything you hear is not the truth. You all have to remember that. Anyone else for public expression? Okay, I'm closing public expression tonight. Thank you all for coming to express your views. We listen, and it's an important part of this for us to listen. Thank you for coming. And we need a short recess. You wore us out. So we will have a recess. Okay, we're going to get back to our consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
I think there's something that you need to do on the consent agenda. The first item, I think you'll probably need to pull that, since we've not approved the board minutes and so forth.
No, that's a different set of minutes.
Oh, that's October, okay.
That's a
I'm not
different-
very smart.
That's October the 11th.
That's October the 11th, all right. Okay, yeah, I see that. Okay.
Yeah, and that was just
Oh,
a,
October the,
that was
okay.
just a mistake of leaving an item out.
Okay, all right.
Just putting, yes, okay.
Get away from me.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. We approve the consent agenda. The next is the unfinished business, and the first item is the proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance 2-1991 solar energy system. Do I hear a motion on that? Mr. Bates made the motion. Who seconds it?
Second.
Robbins seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The next item is the conditioning rezoning of a property located at 9730 Cobra Mountain Road for the tanning salon business. Do I hear a motion on that?
We have historically followed the lead of the zoning board for many, many years. They have put time and effort into that, and it appears that not only did the zoning board do their homework, but I think it appears that the neighborhood has also. I am in agreement with the zoning board, and I move that we refuse the grant of the request.
So Bob made the motion. I need a second.
Second.
John Schoolcraft second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. So we voted no on the zoning. The next is a discussion of, and on this one, until we work on the budget, I suggest that we put the appropriation for the month of June off until our recess meeting. Do I hear a motion to
I'll make that motion, Madam Chairman.
okay, hold to recess meeting? Mr. River made the motion. Do I have a second on it?
I'll second.
Robinson seconded. So all in favor of holding that appropriation until we have a recess meeting and look at a budget? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay. Everybody has left us. The next thing is the new business and the scenic overlook on Cobra Mountain Road, 646. We've got a resolution in favor of that on page 30.
I'll make a motion, we approve this.
And I would like to second that, Robbie. You there?
I've been after that for about 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
Please note that Steve's 30.
So, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Except I'll get to sign the resolution, right? Okay, the next is Mr. Hatfield is going to do a discussion a little bit on the 2019-20 county budget for us.
Just a quick, I've talked to most of you a little bit, but right now the revenues appear to be down, even with the tax increase that we've had. Revenues are down from what was projected last year. The 2 cents that we've been able to add to the general fund has helped with that somewhat, but it still is not as much as what had originally been projected for this fiscal year. The budget requests that we had come in from all the departments, excluding the school board, which we just received this week. Since we have received those, Sonia Salyers and I have cut out a little over $6 million worth of requests that have been made, and we've got it down very close to where we need to be. We will finalize the budget based on what we've got from the school board, what we received yesterday and today from social services, and should be able to get a draft budget to you all tomorrow evening, and would like to have a recessed meeting on Monday the 13th at a time that's appropriate for you all to discuss it in more detail and make a formal presentation based on everything that we finalize tomorrow.
Do you want us to agree upon a time while you have the board's attention?
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair.
Yes, what time do you suggest, Bob?
Anytime in the afternoon to evening is fine with me.
Are we gonna meet here or at the conference room at the courthouse?
Either, I'm not sure if this is.
Is this available? We don't know.
I checked, it is.
It is available?
Yes, ma'am.
I would request that we meet earlier. I had some plans for Monday afternoon, if I could.
8:30 Monday morning.
Boy, he's 8:30 Monday morning.
I got a field trip all that day, so
You do?
it's all right. I'll go ahead.
Would evening work for you, Steve?
Yeah.
Right after my hearty breakfast,
Yeah.
right after 9:30, anytime.
After you leave the club, just come home.
I'm flexible all day. I can do whatever's necessary.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I checked for the afternoon, I didn't check for the day.
Okay. What time do you call the afternoon?
Anytime after 4:30.
After 4:30?
Yeah.
So do we, 4:30 we can't do? Well, we're gonna lose one here and there, guys.
Yeah, just when you want to.
What about Tuesday afternoon?
What was
Could we
the
do
problem
that?
with Tuesday?
Well,
I don't
four
know.
of us have got
PSA meeting.
PSA.
Four of us are gonna be
PSA's at
gone.
6:30.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get out. PSA is at
What time does PSA meet?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
What if we met at 4? Could we get our work done in 2 hours? Get you to PSA?
You know, my preference is that we do it when some public can be here if they want to be, or we can project it on the screen so everybody can see and understand. We as a board, we don't have any idea, I don't, as one board member, really where we're headed. And the Code of Virginia says we're supposed to have a draft budget by April 1st. And that hasn't happened, and a draft is just a projection, it's not the final say. But anyway, my thoughts are, if we could have it in the evening, but I'm open all day, Monday or Tuesday, I'll be flexible.
Do you do it Tuesday at 4?
Tuesday,
Tuesday, 4.
Tuesday, 4 p.m.
I still can't be here. I got sport games in Great Tennessee.
Morning things in Great
I babysit, so I'll get home about 5.
Well, what about Tuesday, and then we gain Steve, and the 4 board members could be here before,
Tuesday, 1 p.m.
everybody check your calendars.
About, how long do you think this will take?
I mean, my presentation will take probably 20 minutes to a half an hour. Your discussions will be what determines the length of the
So
meeting.
a couple of hours should be adequate.
Well, we pick up Steve and Robbie without any problem on Tuesday. If we losing anybody on
Can you
Tuesday?
do it on Wednesday? Is anybody Wednesday?
Did you say, do you have a problem Tuesday, Steve?
Yeah, I go to Johnson City on Tuesday.
Well, I thought he said, so we lose somebody on Tuesday.
Oh, I thought we lost him on Monday.
Well,
Monday
Oh,
and Tuesday.
not Monday evening.
Okay.
I was all right Monday, but you got.
Let's go, what was wrong with Wednesday?
The Southwest Virginia Economic Forum that's taking place that morning.
Certainly is, isn't it?
That day.
All day.
All
How
day.
about for Wednesday evening? I have a public hearing at 10 o'clock.
You're out for that. We're gonna have to go back till,
How about in the morning tomorrow at 7 o'clock? How's that sound to you?
He won't be prepared, we won't have anything ready.
I won't be prepared. And
I
you all
thought
will have
I'd
a
get
chance to look at it.
surprise out somebody.
That's the problem, you wouldn't get a rise, absolutely.
Well, we've got to watch dates to put things out for public hearing.
We need to have the budget ready to submit for public hearing by the 23rd.
That is the absolute.
That is the absolute latest that we
Okay.
can
So
go to.
what about Monday, Thursday, the 16th, then? What's the problem with that?
The seat in town of Appalachia.
Not on Thursday, on that 16th.
What'd you say?
You have a town council meeting that night, don't you?
On Thursday, and we also have,
Oh, yeah.
Thursday, we have a manager's meeting scheduled.
During the day, yes.
During the day. Start at 10 o'clock.
But that would be over by noon if we did something in the afternoon.
What day was that?
The 16th.
The 16th, at afternoon, on the 16th?
Do you babysit that day, Steve?
Did we mention Wednesday?
Wednesday, there's a
Oh,
economic
economic.
forum. Yeah.
That's during the day, isn't it?
Yes.
What about Friday the 17th?
I'm scheduled to be out of town that day. On personal business.
Okay, okay. The 20th then, we're cutting it close when we go to that last week.
The 25th?
Let's just do Monday, and everybody can be here. I mean, how many we're gonna lose on Monday?
It's just me, go ahead and do it.
Monday evening? That we'll do it before.
Monday evening, I can do
Let's
it.
do it at 1 o'clock on Monday. Who couldn't come at 1 o'clock on Monday? You can't?
I got a field trip.
When will you be back? 3:30?
Oh, no, I
He's gotta drive a bus after that.
you know, before, maybe I just feel to get a substitute.
But you could be at some of it. Oh, your field trip though, okay.
What time
I have a lot of people think do field trips, so I'm.
Well, when will you have the field trip back?
Well, I've got two, because I don't have enough people done it, so I'm doing one in the morning, going and then taking another group somewhere else, coming back, picking up.
You've got room for us on the field trip?
Steve, I thought you retired.
Well, I feel sorry for them, you know, I was.
Okay.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Looking at dates and listening to discussion, what about Wednesday afternoon after the summit, around 4,
Okay.
5, or 6?
The summit ends at 3:30.
Okay, 4 o'clock.
Steve's gotta drive
We'll
one.
just do 4:30.
4:30 and Steve will be back. 4:30 on Wednesday.
Were you available then, Fred, or is that a conflict?
Are you available, Bobby? Wednesday?
I don't know. I don't know which day you have planned on that. Where do you decide? We've been all over the board the last 2 weeks.
Wednesday at 4:30? Is that when you said went, Steve?
Wednesday, 4:30, do the best you can.
I'm gonna be through 4:70 anyway, won't
That should be.
I? Bible study then.
Wednesday, 4:30.
Wednesday at 4:30.
Okay, we will need that in a motion at the end of the meeting.
Remember, I
Okay.
can't here.
Huh?
I've already told you I've got a
Oh.
hearing Wednesday, so I won't be here.
At
Just
what-
do it Monday.
I mean, the 15th. The 15th.
Man, the road is gonna be
Let's go ahead and do it Wednesday, and I'll just have, I'll get with Mike and he can fill me in.
It's okay.
Okay. Okay, then let's move on to.
We're done.
We've got, we don't need a motion for that. We've got Wednesday at 4:30, I
Okay,
said.
I've got that penciled in.
Okay, we are moving on back up there to budget amendments, page 31, everyone. Budget amendments on 31. Do I hear a motion to approve those budget amendments?
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Do I have a second? Do I have any discussion? Page 31. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay, the next thing is our appointments on page 32. And the first thing is Karen, we need to address this Transportation Safety Commission. Tell us what it is. What's it doing, Karen?
Okay, hold on just a second. That board was originally set out by statute 1969. We amended, and I think we put that in your board packet for you all to look at. We amended that ordinance in 1978. It was a requirement to get federal funding. The board had certain members that had to be on it, and somehow over the years we've strayed from that. And it's no longer required. The law changed, and so we called VDOT, and they called Richmond and got back with us. And it's not a board that is required any longer. We've just never done away with that board. We have district appointments rather than the position appointments. And I don't think that it's met. I think that was one of the questions that came up of what this board did. So what I'd like to do is prepare an ordinance to withdraw this or to rescind this ordinance because it's no longer necessary to have this board.
And
I agree.
And we can vote on that at the recess meeting.
I'll make a
I can do
motion.
it by the recess meeting, or I can do it at the June meeting.
Yeah, okay, either one.
I'll make a motion that we table it to the June meeting.
Okay,
And I'll prepare that and have it in the packet, because we do have some members that actually have a term that runs until 2020, even though they've never met, it's just been appointed.
okay, we have a motion to table it until June, and I need a second to that motion.
Second.
John did, John seconded first. Okay, any discussion or any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The next is the Lonesome Town Library Board of Trustees. We have someone that is moving, and they've
District
resigned.
3.
District 3.
Madam Chairman, I would like to appoint Chris Allgaier to this board.
Okay. Do I have, that is a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. And that is our May appointments. Go back. And the next thing is closed session. We do not need to go into closed session? Great. So there's no.
Thank you, Lord.
There's no.
There's been a question about the
Shut up, Robbie.
minutes.
Shut up, let's get out of here.
We need to resolve the minutes and approve them.
No, we're going to do that at recess meeting.
We'll do it as a recess
We'll
meeting.
at recess meeting, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think we all need, and don't forget to check those minutes and look at them, so we can handle that at the recess meeting. Okay, the next is the county administrator's report.
The only thing I've got on my report is we have discussed with all of you all the possibility of looking at a manufactured, it's a MRF that handles the waste and the recycling, and about going on a field trip to Sevierville to see that. Maybe we'll get Steve to drive us. We have scheduled a meeting for a site visit on May the 23rd to go see that facility. They have we'll have somebody to show us around, talk to us about it, tell us some of the cost, what it does, what it's saving for the county, and what it's costing the county. So any board members that would like to go on that trip, we will probably be leaving about 7 o'clock on the 23rd, heading to Sevierville. Just let me know for sure if you like.
7 a.m. where? Here.
On the 23rd.
That'd be a short day or a long day?
It'd probably take about 4 hours to go through it, so yeah, it'd be a fairly long day.
Yeah, all day.
Yes, sir. Well, yeah, it starts at 10.
And then 3 hours back, so it's a 10-hour day. Okay.
And were we going to also try to tour the Montgomery County?
We are still talking to them about that. We've been playing a little bit of phone tag and haven't been able to set that up. Red Cross is setting these up to tour.
Okay, we need the county attorney's report. We need board comments now. Mr. Rivers?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I don't know where to start, and I'll try to limit it maybe to just one or two topics. There's been a lot of important issues brought before us this evening. Funding, the budget, which I feel like I'm completely lost. I just haven't seen anything. We've got a short deadline to get there. I certainly hope that we can fund our school, Wise County school system. That's the future of the county. That's where companies come into this county and look for economic development. I just feel like it's important that we do all we can to help our school system. The health care issue, Ballard Health, that we heard about tonight, excuse me, maybe I'm the one responsible for misinformation, but it was my understanding that this board had appointed Mr. Schoolcraft and Mr. Hatfield to work with Ballard Health in the changes that was being made. And if my understanding is right, I'd like to have a report. Has there been meetings? Will there be more meetings? What's the outcome of those meetings? And then to continue that thought, after I've heard the comments from the audience today, you know, we should be proactive. And maybe proactive means that we need to contact our Virginia State Health Department, see where they are in this issue. The night that the CEO was here in Ballard Health, I asked, what's the involvement of the state of Virginia? And I was basically told they have no involvement. It was just like, we presented our plan and that's it. And in addition to contacting Virginia State Department of Health, maybe we need to contact the State Corporation Commission. There has to be organizations at the state level that does have input and influence on what happens. My personal opinion, what has happened is consolidation. We went from 2 healthcare providers to Ballard Health. Ballard Health now has a monopoly. And I'm not sure monopoly is the best thing for healthcare for Wise County or for Southwest Virginia or for Upper East Tennessee. Can we back up? I don't know. Can we make changes? Can we make improvements? I hope we can. But we can't sit here and do nothing. We need to know what the CEOs are thinking. We need to be meeting with them, and we need to see if there's any state level assistance that we can receive. That's all I have, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Schoolcraft?
Yes. One, to respond to UJH, there have been no meetings of that vision committee at this point. And I'm certain that Mr. Hatfield and I, when we're in a meeting like that, we will report back to this board because it's an important issue. I think that one of the things that being on a board like that offers is an opportunity to shape what's going to happen with healthcare in our region. And certainly there are issues with ballot, and there are issues with having one major provider. And those are topics that will be discussed. And like I say, we will be getting back to the board and to the public on that, because it's a critical issue. The other thing, I appreciate Dr. Westover coming, and I really am happy that we have Mountain Empire here with this credentialing process, because that's a big thing in the industry, and if we are going to wind up with jobs here in the area, that credentialing process is critical. Thank you.
Let me run something by you. We've had people talk about they went to Roanoke and they went to Fairfax and they went to Northern Virginia, and they can live up there with the tax rate cheaper than they can in Wise County. People I served on your board, VACO board, for nearly 20 years. I know the tax rate of, and we usually have it somewhere over in the back of a notebook for discussion, but it's big time. It's big time to the fact that the supervisors in those counties, Loudoun, Fairfax, Arlington, they make $120,000 to $150,000, $60,000 a year. They have their own office and they have a staff, and it's a full-time job. You don't do that on a 70-cent tax rate. No way. I rest my case.
It's over, how much, it's up close to $2.
Oh, yes.
And the home here in Wise County, sitting in Fairfax County, would be much more expensive.
1.5 times.
Okay, Mr. Bates.
I echo what Bob says. I was just looking at supervisors in that Fairfax, and their campaign fund is close to $1 million. I said, it tells you a lot, don't it? So they don't want to give up that big high pay, I'd say. So there's a big difference. I think if people understand, if you know what's the difference from up there and here, there's a big difference.
Their supervisor boards don't change.
Right, you have to make 2.5 times up there to live on the same level here. So, yeah, I agree with you, and John, I agree with John when he said about Mountain Empire.
Most important.
Yeah, and
Bobby?
One thing I have to say, that I've seen Steve's campaign budget, he's pretty close.
Fred? Maybe that's Fred's campaign budget, you said.
Zero right now. Just when we had a break, there was a couple of questions that came up about folks here on this board sitting on the ballot, whatever that's called. And my question number one is, how long have you been on that board? When were you asked to serve?
In March,
Yeah.
or probably early March, and we were asked by ballot by Mark Leonard from Norton Community Hospital to serve on that. It's a visioning committee. It's not. It is a committee that's supposed to make recommendations to the ballot board on what to do with the facilities in Wise County.
So you're not making policy then?
We're not making policy. We are an advisory committee on and it has not met yet.
Well, I guess that's my next question. Why hasn't it met yet?
They tell us they
not
are.
getting any input if not meeting, guys.
I know, but they have emailed us a couple of times since then that they are making sure they've got all the information they need to give us to be able to work on that committee before they have their first meeting, which they're anticipating to be in early June.
I guess the point is, you know, that the folks are saying we need to be proactive. And I think it's good that we have people. I mean, there was a saying that was said, but there's another saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So, but anyway, we need to see some meetings so that apparently there's a lot of stuff going on with the ballot, and we're not being a part of that because you folks aren't meeting. The other thing I want to clarify, or y'all need to clarify, is are you being compensated in any form or fashion for sitting on that board?
I think they might provide breakfast.
All the coffee I can drink.
Just questions that were asked,
Yeah.
and I didn't have the answers.
Yeah.
So that's good. Madam Chair, that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Robbins?
I too am worried about what I'm hearing about Ballard Health. I don't know if it's
Guys, it's Ballard. It's not Ballard.
Ballard.
It's ballet.
Ballet. But anyway, it disturbs me if it is true that people sitting in the emergency rooms requiring help and there's beds available, but there's not staffing to take care of them. That really, now that is major concern to me because we may be talking about life and death issues here. And that's, I think we need to look into that. And I don't like the fact that Kingsport is losing its rating as a trauma 3, is it?
Trauma 1.
Trauma 1.
Trauma 3, or Trauma 1 center and a neonatal level 3 center. Is what
Right.
it is.
Well, it disturbs me that Kingsport's being downgraded and it goes all the way to Johnson City because that's a lot farther than Kingsport. And I wonder, with that move, what is going to happen with our hospitals that are here in Wise County? We've got 3 and I know that they're not going to survive. And that's not good either. We may wind up like Dickinson County and have to and not have a hospital unless we do something. So I'm concerned, and I think you all need to express this. It's on this committee. I think, and
I'll tell you, it has been expressed. I was in a meeting this morning, and that same kind of stuff has been expressed.
they need they need. If there's any way that we can put pressure on them, I think we need to put pressure on them because we just don't need to roll over and let them do whatever they want to do. I just don't agree with that. And I think that concerns me about as much as anything that went on here tonight. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, if I could add on this health discussion, just one thing. One of the speakers here tonight had contacted me prior to this meeting, and the comment was made that she was having a heart attack. She went to Lonesome Pine Hospital, and they did not have a working wheelchair to put her in. When they got her in a bed, they didn't have a working blood pressure cuff to put on her arm. Now, if these comments are true, we definitely need to be concerned and we need to be expressing them so that there are corrections made.
Yes.
So I wanted to add that so that maybe that can be entered into the discussion.
And if I may, Madam Chairman, the issues that were brought up tonight, I'm not waiting until our meeting on the visioning for Wise County to bring those up. When I get things of this nature, I call Ballard the next day and discuss those issues with them, let them know the concerns that we've got in Wise County, and that we're not happy with the things that are going on when they're going bad. So I do bring those up, and I don't wait until we have. I want to use the visioning committee to concentrate on the vision for Wise County, and I want to use, then I will use other times to talk about the issues that we've got with what's going on right now, and what are they going to do to correct those.
And again, the healthcare issue really concerns me because I believe that we need to maintain our population, and we are not going to keep people as they retire if they do not have good health care in Wise County. People look at health care as a big consideration for retirees. So we're going to have every people that can afford to move will be looking for, and now they're going to have to move all the way to Johnson City or Pikeville if they want to stay in the region. But sometimes they move completely away from the region when they look at places for health care and retirees. And they look for a quality of life. And that's why it's important for our trails, for the quality of life. And education is critical. Our workforce is, if we're going to have a workforce that will attract any industry or even to make the small businesses successful, you need the educated entrepreneurs that can get out here and start businesses. That's where the hope of the county is individuals, entrepreneurs starting businesses and providing jobs. The small business, guys, is where it's at. We're not going to have someone come in with a hundreds of manufacturing jobs. We're going to do it one small business at a time. And that's where, and so we have to have that education. We have to have the skilled labor. And we've got to maintain our population. And so these topics tonight was all critical in us maintaining an economical, vibrant Wise County. So I think that it's issues that we hold very dear, and we're going to work every way we can. But we cannot afford, we've got to make sure when we look at funding that that money is not going, that it's going to go for what we need and not overfund anyone. And I do not want to I don't want to fund for prepayments. I do not want to fund where they hold checks for about 5 months. I want, the money needs to go for, the money could have gone for aids in the classroom, it could have gone for supplies, but it did not have to go for prepayments. And I do not want to fund prepayments or just spend money to be spending it so they can ask for a different amount next year, guys. We've got to be careful on this budget. And it's not pleasant. None of us likes to cut the budget. The easiest thing for us is just fund everything everybody asks for. But the side effects is you've got to raise those taxes to do that. And we've already heard the complaints tonight about our tax rates. So, it's not an easy job. I wish I had the solution. And we need to go home. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to recess.
Oh, recess, yes, thank you. And recess to May the 15th at 4:30.
You can't meet at 4:30 on Monday.
Phone call, email, and then
Here, Madam Chairman, here.
we doing it here.
If you can, yes, if you can get this
Well,
right.
he said
We can
Monday
do it
would be available.
4.
Every day but Tuesday was not
Okay,
available.
okay.
That way Frank can come.
We're gonna do it on their agreed time, aren't we?
Just a minute.
I'm just saying Frank can make it on Monday if we did it.
If we do it at 4, I probably could make it.
Okay, you can make it right.
Monday at 4.
Yeah, let's just make it Monday. I'll be 20 minutes late, so that won't be bad.
Okay, Monday at 4, is that
I'll just
okay?
miss his presentation.
Okay, that's better for me. I was gonna have to cancel a doctor's appointment for the 4th time. So, Monday,
I want us to sharpen.
Monday, and I've got Wednesday, I'll just go ahead and come Wednesday at 4:30, that'd be all right.
All right.
Monday at 4. Monday at 4, make the motion real quick.
I'll make a motion that we recess until Monday, the 13th at 4 o'clock.
Is that the same as PM, bro?
Or no, it's 8 p.m.
Do we have a second on that motion?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're out here.